Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Joining us now from Snowflake Clothing, Dan Ives joins us this morning. Thank you for toning it down, Dan. I'm apoplectic this morning over what I saw is a complete reaffirmation of the Google model. It's out there. I'm going to do a major shout out to Asa Fitch over at Heard on the Street on the Wall Street Journal, who I think really nailed. I was OMG. Was I right to be OMG at 4:20 yesterday afternoon?
I mean, look, I think it's a game changer for the whole story because it shows, like, Google now, there was a view, they're on the defensive. AI is going to ruin their search business. Now look at search, mass advertising, strong YouTube, cloud, better than expected. And then the best thing, by them increasing CapEx $10 billion, that's them basically beating their chest saying, hey, in this arms race,
but to
don't
the
forget about
uninformed,
us.
I went and looked at it, and folks, you can do this with the WACC screen. Good morning, Mr. Secunda. The weighted average cost of capital screen on the Bloomberg. An added $10 billion in CapEx for Google is basically trying to buy another house out in Menlo Park. It's like a rounding error.
It's exactly, and look, Tom, the last thing that they could be is on the outside looking in on this AI arms race. And I think the view, look, we think on a large cap perspective, this has been the most oversold stock relative.
I'll go with that.
And again, I get like DOJ, regulatory, but the view that AI is going to ruin Alphabet's business is dramatically flawed.
Let's go touchy-feely concept here. It's the way Lisa rolls. What did we learn yesterday about how we use AI with our searches? I think we learned something new yesterday.
I think what you learn is that when you do those searches, Google's going to play a huge part. And I think if you look at like actual like advertising, you look at like search results, you look at all the underlying metrics, it shows that it's actually an accelerant for their business, not something that takes away. And I think that's
but the thing is,
Paul, Dan's code. Okay, for those of you on radio, it looks like, look at his code. It's like a chalkboard in a physics lecture.
It's not
at Caltech.
It's very troubling to say the least.
He's in the Cartesian space. Continue. I hate to interrupt.
Search revenue is number of clicks times revenue per click. I'm clicking materially less. How does that not bad for their search business?
So that you guys said it's bad now, but the view is that, Paul, given what they're doing in terms of investments in AI, given where they view ultimately the future, that when you're going to come back in terms of searching through models, through actual like LLMs, Google is going to play a role in monetizing that, and even on the advertising side. And I think that's really the view, is that this is not something that's structurally going to be a threat to their business. It's actually the opposite. They're going to turn it into what I view as a tailwind. I think that's what Tom's talking about. That's what came out last night, is that this is not a company on the defensive. This is a company on the offense.
Okay. All right. So, and we're seeing that in the stock. The stock's up 3.6% here today, although it's flat for the year. So there's definitely concern out there in the marketplace about this story here. More concern is with Tesla. I don't know, man. My hat's off to you hanging with this dude. But making cars is not a good business for anybody. It never has been. So he's trying to redirect us to all this other stuff, which fine. A lot of people will bank on this guy. Where should we be focusing our attention on the Tesla story? Because I don't want to be bending metal here.
Look, Paul, we've talked about it for years. Like, I don't view this as a car company, and I never have. I always view it as technology. Right. But to me, the future is about AI. It's about physical AI in terms of autonomous robotics. Now, look, this quarter, next few quarters, there's nothing to write home about, right? In terms of actual deliveries, demand, gross margins, EPS. But if you look at the story over the long term, I believe 90% of the future value is about robotaxis, autonomous, eventually it's going to be Optimus. That, when it comes to physical AI, and Jensen talks about this all the time, the two best physical AI plays are Tesla and NVIDIA.
Okay, that's obviously the future here. Give us the mileposts we should be, if we're taking our attention away from the car business, what are some of the mileposts for these other businesses that we should pay attention to?
So, well, first off, from a robotaxi perspective, you're looking to be in 25 cities in the next year.
Okay.
So our team was in Austin. We saw robotaxi front and center. So like you're seeing that expand significantly in Austin. California's next, then Florida, and a bunch of other.
Okay.
Cities. Look, and I believe one of the big mileposts that everyone's looking for is, at some point, probably early 26, when Keene's in a robotaxi.
Yep.
And the thing is, I do think I do think that will happen.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't Tom. When Tom's in a robotaxi,
Yeah.
I might be buying a stock.
Good luck for that. Dan Ives with us here in your commute across the nation, particularly good early morning in the 16 miles between Menlo Park and Cupertino. How did Cupertino digest the Google earnings yesterday? The basic, I can just see the leadership of Google and Apple taking a breakfast or lunch at Mademoiselle Colette, some fancy place out there where everybody eats herbal. And the answer is, how does Apple take this? To me, it's a huge deal for Apple.
Well, no, I think that the view that Google is going to become less important to Apple is the exact opposite.
Are we going to get an agreement that Goose is Apple?
That time
Gurman talks about
We've said it. It's a two-part thing. I think you need to get a significant sort of upping of that partnership with Google, because when you look at partners, that's one that they're going to bet on in terms of Apple. I continue, as I've talked about, I think for the first time they're going to have to do an acquisition. Like I told you, I think Perplexity continues to be the one that they should go after, because my whole point is...
Who should go after Perplexity?
Apple should go after Perplexity.
Okay, let's dig into that. Tom Secunda, full disclosure, folks, Mr. Secunda, one of the founders of Bloomberg, is hugely influential in AI with the Secunda Foundation, and he leads with Perplexity. What is Perplexity?
When you think about models, ChatGPT, anyone that uses Perplexity as, I've used probably one of the best next-gen AI models out there. The reason it's so important, and some could disagree, but Apple needs to make an aggressive move. They cannot watch this AI revolution and just let it pass by. That's why I think what you saw from Alphabet was a stepping up. When it comes to Apple, if you go back to WWDC, they ain't really hardly even mention AI. And I think the time has come for them to make aggressive moves in AI. And that'll be the big focus next week in the conference
Lisa,
call.
what's the most herbal matcha coffee thing in the morning? Like, what would be the typical West Coast, a healthy coffee thing?
Well, it's called a dirty matcha.
A dirty matcha. Okay. Cupertino this morning, the team's having their dirty matchas to get the day started. Again, how does Apple respond to what we learned? 13% YouTube growth. Thank you, folks, for that. I'm living it every day.
Yep.
And the answer is, how does Apple respond to Perplexity, to Gemini, and to Google's, their embedded relationship with Google?
If you can't beat them, join them. Like they're basically going to have to double down on the partnership with Google, despite all the words in terms of DOJ and everything that Google is dealing with. And I think for Apple, look, you have the best global install base in the world, consumer. Yep. You have 2.4 billion devices, 1.5 billion iPhones. Now's the time to start to monetize AI, but that's not going to happen internally. It's not going to happen within the walls of Apple Park. It needs to happen through partnerships and what I believe ultimately is an acquisition.
Tom, this is courtesy of Google AI. A dirty matcha, also known as a matcha espresso fusion, is a popular beverage that combines the earthy flavor of matcha tea with the bold intensity of a shot or two of espresso.
Lisa, thanks so much
for that.
Delicious.
You're fun.
Delicious.
Dan, in terms of single best buy at Wedbush, I mean, it's great. I love the snowflake look. You look like Heineman's physics class here years ago. And you got the hat. What's the hat, damn it?
Yeah, Mallorca hat. It's a,
Is this from Mallorca?
From Mallorca. It's one of Mallorca hats.
Is that for some loft in Brooklyn or something?
No, it's just Mallorca hat. And look, it's one where, this is, to me, when I look at Wedbush, Best Buy, the best name.
What's your single best buy?
I believe it's Microsoft here. This is the one.
Right. He's been consistent on that.
No, because this is the one. It's not just about $4 trillion. It's about as the enterprise AI plays out in the backyard
Business
of Redmond.
AI.
It's Nadella that's going to own it.
What does Nadella think of what Google did yesterday?
I think what Google did yesterday on Google Cloud, I think just speaks further what you're going to see, what they did on Azure coming next week. But the most important thing is that everything that Google's doing, all the investment, everything you see on search, guess who eventually benefits? Because they're Microsoft's the toll collector. It doesn't matter who's there. in one way or another, you're paying them as more and more move to the cloud.
Right.
And it's AI driven. That continues to be our
One
focus.
final question. This is so important. The Gloom crew on Dan Ives. Do you know, understand there's haters out there of Dan Ives?
Haters hate.
It's hard.
Haters
I mean,
hate.
there's Lisa and then, thousands others. The Dan Ives haters, you have been so right, including pounding the table the first week of April. I want you to speak to the haters right now about the x-axis of the Ives tech boom.
Look, I think the haters, and right now they're in the hibernation mode in those caves. They can find AI in the spreadsheets. And I think part of the problem is that they're underestimating the fourth industrial revolution. And as I've said,
What does that mean?
look, 3 million air miles
He's
last
like
20
a walking TED speech.
Look, the point is 3 million air miles the last 25 years. It's about seeing what's happening in the world. And if you look what's happening in Asia and you look at chip demand, it is fractional where we are relative to the opportunity. Right. It's our view. It's 10 p.m. in the AI part. It was 9 p.m. and the party goes to 4 a.m.
I'm going to say this as simple as I can. We keep track. We learn from people who are wrong. We learn from people who are right. But it's this thematic idea of where we are, folks. Right now, to me, I said this last night to Mrs. Keene, it's like late 1994, early 1995. And Dan Ives was in a bar with a Budweiser in his hand saying,
State
Tom,
College.
Google's buying dog pile.
It's 1995, not 1999.
Good. Dan Ives, thank you so much with Wedbush.